I don't want to hear it, Itsuko, okay? Serious stuff going on right now. Just pop down over there. Why don't you just go eat some rice? That's not racist. I just... My kids love rice. The channel I'm watching, it's not live. Yeah. Is it live? I'm watching the White House channel. I mean, Trump's not speaking. I didn't mean like is there a live feed of just a bunch of people standing around? I mean, Trump's not speaking yet.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They want to let the world decay.
So I made a TikTok today and I was like, if you're going to have like I said on the show, right? If you're going to have surgery, we're not going to use a surgeon. We're going to use a guy who gets a bunch of retweets about surgery, right? Or your engine replaced in your car. And someone was like, how do you know they're not auditors? Because we know everybody on the team, their education, their work history, everything about them. Oh, fuck, dude, they make excuses for it. They're like, you're just guessing. So you think there's an invisible, unnamed, never mentioned auditor that just hangs out and audits for them. He's never been brought up. He's never been named. He's never showed his work. He gets 8 million, 8 billion confused all the time. Counts contracts 5-6 times over. And I'm the one making stuff up. I'm the one who's guessing. I swear the average American, not to debates. I understand a lot of people aren't good at debate. The average, their vote counts just as much as your vote, American, is not able to discuss topics. Like, can't have a back and forth conversation. Oh, I heard the gavel bang. Let's end the music. We'll skip around here. I get some audio. Oh, God. Here we go, boys. He makes the weirdest faces, dude. I've got a fact check running in the background. So it's not a State of the Union, right? Because he hasn't been there long enough, really, for tradition. It's just an address. Some presidents do this, some don't. I think Reagan did it. Bush did it. I was reading an article about it earlier. H.W. Bush and George W. Bush both did it in their first year. I've never seen a mouth that looks more like a fucking butthole than Donald Trump's. Like when he puckers it, man. Slotkin. It said that the senator from Michigan, I think her last name is Slotkin, Slotkin, is given the rebuttal. Some of his retard cocksuckers are like, oh, it was 5D chess. He was mean to Zelensky, so Europe would give Zelensky more money and we wouldn't have to give him so much. Okay. You cannot in any way tarnish Trump's decisions or any, like, you just got to be a yes man. I could do it for enough money. As long as I don't get prosecuted for war crimes later. I'm pointing at Dr. J. Thank you for the resubscription. This is a little much, okay? A standing ovation to a guy that's been there for less than 40 days. Come on. They always do this. See who will stand and clap the longest. That's a creepy looking motherfucker. Why are your eyes so close together? Oh, God.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a great honor. Thank you very much. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance.
How many words does he mispronounce?
Of the United States.
By contract, has to appear here.
Members of the United States Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow
Oh, no, Steve.
citizens, America is back.
It's going to be a whole lot of cock riding tonight, guys. Just so you know. Jumping up every time they can, clapping for everything they can.
6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years.
God, that's going to be a stupid move to pull out of NATO.
Started.
By the way, you guys know Article 5 has only been invoked once, which is where you have to defend other nations, and it was us asking other countries to help us after 9/11. Like saying we don't get any use out of it. It's an absolute. We're the only people that's used it. The only people.
Chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before.
I feel like J.D. Vance's head is inflating while we watch.
Verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again. There's never been anything like it.
He can't help but throw filler words in there.
The presidential election of November 5th was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades.
Record low turnout.
7 swing states, giving us an electoral college victory of 312 votes. We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country.
Ooh, already? Shout down dissenters. That's right. Let's beat them with something.
And won counties in our country, 2,700 to 525. On a map that reads almost completely red for Republican. Now, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. In fact, it's an astonishing record, 27-point swing, the most ever. Small business optimism saw its single largest one-month gain ever recorded.
Ooh.
41-point jump.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session.
I think if you go all the way to the threats of Sergeant of Arms, you've done your thing. You can sit down now. I don't want to see anybody drug out of here, okay?
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir.
He's talking about a Rasmussen poll. What do we know about Rasmussen polls?
Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
I think it was about a 50-50 poll. This fucking loser.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House. Mr. President, you continue.
Thank you. Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100.
There goes his job.
And taken more than 400
You think he got fired?
record to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it.
All I heard him say was he does not have a mandate.
In fact, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation. By many.
Al Green, he's from Texas, right?
And what makes it even more impressive is that, do you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that? How about that? I don't know about that list, but we'll take it. Within hours of
I knew his name, but I don't know that I've ever put a picture with it.
emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and border patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever. They heard my words and they chose not to come.
I don't think it's decades. I don't think it's ever. It's in decades.
And under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history, there were hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers,
It's the lowest in decades.
people from mental institutions and insane asylums, were released into our country. Who would want to do that? This is my 5th such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the
What's he
answers
talking
to
about?
the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels.
The stock market's fucking falling off a cliff, bro.
Right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way. So Democrats sitting before me, for just this one night, why not join us in celebrating so many incredible wins for America? For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
Show anybody but her. Come on.
Every day my administration is fighting to deliver
They have no desire to work together.
bring a future that America deserves, and we're doing it. This is a time for big
That's right, Dave.
dreams and bold action. Upon taking office, I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid.
And a judge stepped in and made you fucking pay. You know, they left people just overseas stranded. No way to get home,
The
no funds, no.
Green New Scam. I withdrew from the unfair Paris Climate
The
Accord.
Green New Deal has never passed.
Trillions of dollars that other countries were not paying. I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization.
Who he praised when he was making a vaccine. I don't know if you remember that.
Withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council. We ended all of Biden's environmental restrictions that were making our country far less safe and totally unaffordable. And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto workers and companies from economic destruction.
His hair's looking extra thin tonight.
To unshackle our economy, I have directed that for every one
How's the
new
stock market
regulation,
doing?
10 old regulations must be eliminated, just like I did in my very successful first term.
Something that blind is stupid, right?
And in that first term, we set records on ending unnecessary rules and regulations like no other president had done before.
It's almost like across the board
All
tariffs.
federal workers to return to the office. They will either show up for work in person or be removed from their job.
I think it's disrespectful for her to be wearing a hat.
Government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good.
Their signs say different things on different sides. And they got a bunch of them.
And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back.
When did we not have free speech? This is such placating to the audience.
And 2 days ago, I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America. I renamed the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America.
This doesn't do anything. Most people in foreign countries know multiple languages.
Renamed for a great president.
We don't.
William
What did you think the official language was?
McKinley again. Beautiful Alaska. We love Alaska. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government.
Mostly used by women and veterans. So, good job.
And our country will be woke no longer. We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. Very important. You should be hired based on merit. And the Supreme Court, in a brave and very powerful decision, has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have removed
They seem happy.
of critical race theory from our public schools, and I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
This isn't factually true.
I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports.
It's basically, so the president usually uses it to update the nation and Congress on what his goals are, what he foresees. It's not a State of the Union because it hasn't been a year, but he's just using it for a rally.
High school athlete, one of the best, preparing for a future in college sports. But when her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male, he smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face, causing traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side and ending her athletic career. It was a shot like she's never seen before. She's never seen anything like it. Peyton is here tonight in the gallery, and Peyton, from now on, schools will kick the men off the girls' team or they will lose all federal funding.
I don't even know if that has to do with male or female. I mean, if the same thing would have, it sounds like a freak accident. The same thing would have happened to a guy's face. Would it have not caused the same injury?
And if you really want to see numbers, just take a look at what happened in the women's boxing, weightlifting, track and field, swimming, or cycling, where a male recently finished a long-distance race 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of a woman for a new record by 5 hours. Broke the record by 5 hours. It's demeaning for women.
More small talk.
Very bad for our country. We're not going to put up with it any longer. What I have just described is only a small fraction of the common sense revolution that is now, because of us,
Tons of co-ed teams.
world.
Beach volleyball, a lot of times
Common
co-ed.
sense has become a common theme, and we will never go back. Never.
Sounds like a freak accident. That sucks, but I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's like a football player getting paralyzed.
Priorities is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families.
Somebody laughed.
We inherited from the last administration.
It's going off a clip. Did you guys see the GDP predictions?
And an inflation nightmare. Their policies drove up energy prices,
Inflation's up,
grocery
Trump.
costs,
Inflation is up under you, Trump.
reach for millions and millions of Americans. They've never had anything like it. We suffered the worst inflation in 48 years, but perhaps even in the history of our country. They're not sure. As president, I'm fighting every day to reverse this damage and make America affordable again.
The tariffs are going to fix it, just like.
Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control.
Did you fix them?
Is out of control.
You fixed them?
And we're working hard to get it back.
Oh, okay.
Secretary,
Day one.
good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. Do a good job. A major focus of our fight to defeat inflation is rapidly reducing the cost of energy.
Those tariffs will fix it.
This administration cut the number of new oil and gas leases by 95%, slowed pipeline construction to a halt, and closed more than 100 power plants. We are opening up many of those power plants right now. And frankly, we have never seen anything like it. That's why on my first
Everything's never seen anything like it.
national energy emergency. As you've heard me say many times, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation on earth, and by far. And now I fully authorize the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill.
We're drilling more than ever.
My administration is also working on a gigantic natural gas pipeline in Alaska, among the largest in the world, where Japan, South Korea, and other nations want to be our partner with investments of trillions of dollars each. There's never been anything like that one. It will be truly spectacular. It's all set to go. The permitting is gotten. And later this week, I will also take historic action to dramatically expand production of critical minerals and rare earths here in the USA. To further combat inflation, we will not only be reducing the cost of energy, but will be ending the flagrant waste of taxpayer dollars. And to that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency. GOEF.
No one knows what it is, who leads it, what goes on. What a fucking douche, dude.
Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight. Thank you, Elon. He's working very hard. He didn't need this. He didn't need this. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that. Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have
Oh, God.
already
Oh,
identified.
here come the lies.
$22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+.
Oh, yeah, wouldn't go on with Jon Stewart.
Lesotho.
Said, I'll go as long as it's unedited. Okay. Never mind.
$50 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million.
These are just things you don't like.
Mice, transgender.
If it was allocated by Congress, these are just things you don't like.
$32 million for a left-wing propaganda operation in Moldova. $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. $20 million for the Arab Sesame Street.
Not true. We've been over this one.
Program. $20 million for
That was for all childhood education
$1 million to
in Iraq.
Recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her? A $3.5 million consulting contract for lavish fish monitoring. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City.
Wrong. We've covered that one.
He's a real estate developer. He's done very well. $250,000 to increase vegan local climate action innovation
Vegan?
in Zambia. $42 million for social and behavior change.
So the foreign aid stuff is just shit he doesn't like, right? It's been allocated by Congress,
Procurement
and we present it in the most negative light we
$7
can.
million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well with learning. You know what we're doing. Should use it ourselves. And $101 million
Again,
for
just a program you don't
at
like.
the Department of Education, the most ever paid, nothing even like it. Under the Trump administration, all of these scams, and they're far worse, but I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about them. They're so bad. Many more have been found out and exposed and swiftly terminated by a group of very intelligent, mostly young people, headed up by Elon, and we appreciate it. We found hundreds of billions of...
Is he sitting on the stairs? Oh, no, there's a chair behind him. Why is that handrail through his... Is he in handicap accessible seating? There are programs that I don't like. They're not fraud.
Back the money, and
I wish they wouldn't have been voted for, right?
And other things.
You could say 4.7 trillion in tax breaks to billionaires.
This is just the beginning. The Government Accountability Office, a federal government office, has estimated annual fraud of over $500 billion in our nation, and we are working very hard to stop it. We're going to. We're also identifying shocking levels of incompetence and probable fraud in the Social Security program for our seniors, and that our seniors and people that we love rely on. Believe it or not, government databases list 4.7...
Hold on. I know I shouldn't pause it because it's live, but let me show you something. They claim there's not going to be any cuts to Medicaid, okay? Or Medicare. No cuts. This red area is the amount they have to cut. The dark blue area is Medicaid. The light blue area is Medicare. This is in their budget. Everything that's not Medicaid or Medicare is right here. Even if they cut everything that is not Medicaid or Medicare, there's still not enough to get these 3.5 boxes. There's 2.5 boxes. They have to cut from Medicaid and Medicare to meet this budget. They can't keep lying about it. That's just the easiest fucking graph I found to represent it. Like there's not, even if you cut everything else within that department, you still wouldn't have enough to meet their goal of $880 billion over 10 years.
Million Social Security members from people aged 100 to 109 years old. It lists 3.6 million people from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129. 3.9 million people from ages 130 to 139.
And not a single one of these people receive a check.
From ages
They're not eligible to receive checks. They couldn't receive checks.
And money is being
They're
paid.
not valid to receive checks.
Searching right now, 140 to 149. And money is being paid to many of them.
That's wrong.
Searching.
That's a lie. That's a lie. These people are literally in a list locked out of the computer because we don't have their death date. And they cannot be sent money. You couldn't even accidentally, like if you said, okay, we're sending an extra $100 to everybody on Social Security, you couldn't even accidentally send these people money.
Right now, in fact, Pam, good luck. Good luck. You're going to find it. But a lot of money is paid out to people because it just keeps getting paid and nobody does. And it really hurts Social Security and hurts our country. 1.3 million people from ages 150 to 159 and over 130,000 people, according to the Social Security databases, are age over 160 years old. We have a healthier country than I thought, Bobby.
So the problem is they don't have their death dates. That's it, right? They know they're not living that. They're locked out of the system. But how do you close that out? You can't just delete somebody, right? Because we need these records forever, as long as we can afford to store them. So you can't close them out. You can't finish them off. You can't just delete them. So you quarantine them until we figure out something about when they died.
Including, to finish, 1,039 people between the ages of 220 and 229, one person between the age of 240 and 249, and one person is listed at 360 years of age. More than 100 years older than our country. But we're going to find.
What would one person be listed that's older than our country has been around be? Obviously an error. And the person's clearly dead or they would have been fixing it by now.
Find out where that money's going, and it's not going to be pretty by slashing.
It's not, there's no money. There's no money. There is no money. You know how simple this would be to fix? Go to the fucking bank. They're not getting money. They're literally quarantined out of the system.
All of the fraud, waste, and theft we can find. We will defeat inflation, bring down mortgage rates, lower car payments and grocery prices, protect our seniors, and put more money in the pockets of American families. And today, interest rates took a beautiful drop, big, beautiful drop. It's about time. And in the near
So did the stock market.
future,
Social Security's only been around for about 45 years, something like that.
not been done in 24 years. Balance the federal budget. We're going to balance it.
Balance the budget with $4.7 trillion in tax cuts.
With that goal in mind, we have developed in great detail what we are calling the Gold Card, which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship. It's like the Green Card, but better and more sophisticated. And these people will have to pay tax in our country. They won't have to pay tax from where they came. The money that they've made, you wouldn't want to do that, but they have to pay tax, create jobs. They'll also be taking people out of colleges and paying for them so that we can keep them in our country instead of having them being forced out. Number one at the top school, as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success for a company out there. So while we take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people, the Democrats, the Biden administration, the open border insane policies that you've allowed to destroy our country, we will now bring in brilliant, hardworking jobs.
The guy's a joke, but his followers love it.
Reduce our debt with that money.
By the way, he can't create a new visa on his own.
Americans have given us a mandate for bold and profound change. For nearly 100 years, the federal bureaucracy has grown until it has crushed our freedoms, ballooned our deficits, and held back America's potential in every possible way. The nation founded by pioneers and risk takers now drowns under millions and millions of pages of regulations and debt. Approvals that should take 10 days to get instead take 10 years, 15 years, and even 20 years before you're rejected. Meanwhile,
so this is something that I could actually agree on, is everybody knows red tape and like building a power plant or something like that. But it's wrong to say that we need to slash it down to these extremely short timelines too. Like it shouldn't take 10 years to get approval for something. It shouldn't take 10 days either, right? Because if it takes 10 years, obviously we're just jumping through unnecessary hoops. If it takes 10 days, we're not reviewing any of it. We're not taking a chance to look through any of it, right? They're just getting a stamp of approval, and who gives a fuck what they're doing to our community, to our environment, to fucking your backyard. Like that's horrible.
We have hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have not been showing up to work. My administration will reclaim power from this unaccountable bureaucracy, and we will restore true democracy to America again. And any federal bureaucrat who resists this change will be removed from office immediately. Because we are draining the swamp. It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over.
Except from us. The unelected bureaucrat trying to get rid of unelected bureaucrats.
And the next phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for
No, you don't have to. There's a bunch of people that are sitting it out.
this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody. They're in there. They're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing a big favor by telling you that. But
They're almost exclusively for the wealthy, right? Almost exclusively for the wealthy.
I know this group is going to be voting for the tax.
There are people that already released memos saying we won't be there in protest.
Thank you. It's a very, very big part of our plan. We had tremendous success in our first term with it. A very big part of our plan. We're seeking permanent income tax cuts all across the board.
It didn't do very well the first time. They want you. Okay, here's what they want you to do. They want you to say, well, I'll get back an extra $200, $500, right, whatever. Ignoring how much the tariffs are going to hurt you, and ignoring that the people above you are getting back an extra hundreds of thousands of dollars. While they claim that the deficit is this existential crisis, but they're making it worse. We know how to fix the deficit. We know how to fix Social Security. The problem is it involves taxing the people that paid to get him elected, that paid to get Congress elected. Eventually, they're going to have to stand up and tax those people like they were in the 50s and 60s. It's not unprecedented. We already did this before. It's just there's been a trend to cut your rich friends' tax breaks.
And to get urgently needed relief to Americans hit especially hard by inflation, I'm calling for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors.
See how much that adds to the deficit.
And I also want to make interest payments on car loans, tax deductible.
By the way, I think that's
if the car is.
I think that's hollow. I don't think that'll end up getting passed. If I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to tell you, right? I'll be the first one to tell you. But they are also one to loosen laws around how overtime's paid. So if you get to pay overtime on a 2-week period, you could work 60 hours this week, 20 hours next week, and not be paid overtime. Right now, if you're in a union, it's anything over 8 and anything on the weekends, regardless how many hours you work. But right now, it's paid on 40, right? So if you work 42 this week, only get 38 next week, you still get paid those 2 hours of overtime. They're wanting to change that as well. But I think it's an empty, hollow promise. With as many people as that seem legitimately concerned about the deficit, I don't think it'll happen. I could be wrong. I'll come back and admit I was wrong.
Made in America.
Yeah, salary employees get fucked, dude.
And by the way, we're going to have growth in the auto industry like nobody's ever seen. Plants,
Especially in stuff like construction, project managers, salary employees get fucked because the people underneath them are making fucking bank, working 84 hours a week.
up all over the place. Deals are being made. Never seen. That's a combination of the election win and tariffs. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? That, along with our other policies, will allow our auto industry to absolutely boom. It's going to boom. Spoke to the majors today, all three, the top people, and they're so excited. In fact, already numerous car companies have announced that they will be building massive automobile plants in America. With
I should say there's a time that salary makes sense, but if you're a salaried employee and you get a certain base rate, and there comes time that you're going to have to work overtime, there should also come almost an even amount of time that you work less than 40 hours. But what typically happens is you always, no matter what, have to work 40 hours, and then every so often, a couple times a month, you have to work overtime. That's not great.
With Honda just announcing a new plant in Indiana, one of the largest anywhere in the world.
Wrong. Okay. Well, I fact-checked this today because the retards that I live around did this. Okay. Honda may be moving one very specific car to a plant that's already there. Okay. They already make the Civic there. Their plan was for the 2028 Civic hybrid, like a dual fuel hybrid, to be made in Mexico. But they're thinking if the tariffs are going to hurt them that bad, they might shift that one car, that one very specific model of one car to there, which is good. But it's not a new plant. It's not the first time. Somebody was like, this is the first time they're ever making Civics in the U.S. No, it isn't. That Indiana plant already makes the Civics here. They don't make the Type R. That's in Canada. And they don't make the hybrid. The hybrid is made in Mexico, or is planned, projected to be made in Mexico. It might be made in Indiana, which is great, but don't oversell it.
And this has taken place since our great victory on November 5th, a date which will hopefully go down as one of the most important in the history of our country. In addition, as part of our tax cuts, we want to cut taxes on domestic production and all manufacturing. And just as we did before, we will provide 100% expensing. It will be retroactive to January 20th, 2025. And it was one of the main reasons why our tax cuts were so successful in our first term, giving us the most successful economy in the history of our country. First term. We had a great first term. If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries.
By the way, his own trade deal that he signed with Canada and Mexico allowed them to make that car in Mexico since then without facing the tariffs. So basically what they were doing was they were getting enough material out of the U.S., and they were paying engineers to design it in the U.S., and it was tariff-free from Mexico until his new 25 no matter what.
Countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations.
Honda has that big footprint in the Indiana plant, which is great. I mean, I don't want to sound just like a hater. Like, bringing one car there is awesome, but this is very different than they're building a new plant, and for the first time ever, they're going to be making this car. It's not. It's just the hybrid version.
Just tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our product.
But these are the reasons you should use tariffs. India is trying to build a national auto industry, and they don't have a lot of momentum behind them. Everybody wants U.S. cars or German cars or whatever. This is how you should use tariffs. Very specifically to protect something. Like when we use it on steel, like we can't compete with how cheap China can make steel. But we don't want our steel mill to collapse because it would ruin an entire town, county, everybody would lose their jobs and shit. So we can use that to protect, not across the board, we're just doing this.
Products is twice what we charge them, and South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea, but that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was, and so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, this one day which cost us a lot of money. but we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs.
A lot of people have said that about him, including the porn star he was fucking while his wife was looking the other way.
Tariffs kick in, and whatever they tariff
He's very, very superstitious. Very superstitious.
other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take
a good example of this, I think that is a bad idea, is like lumber, okay? We tariff Canadian lumber to keep it up with U.S. lumber, okay? I understand that, right? What we shouldn't do is make it so as we can't get Canadian lumber because it's so much more expensive, and then start fucking cutting down all of our forests and shit, right? Opening up national parks to like build lumber, to get lumber out of. That's silly. We should protect our parks. We can keep lumber in business here, and maybe we can even do specialty lumber like cabinet grade and hardwoods and stuff like that. But we want to protect our lands. It used to be the mentality of let that other country destroy their land, their environment, their resources. We'll buy them up. And that sounds horrible. But holy shit, well, how did we do a complete flip? Like, no, fuck you guys. We'll destroy our own country. Thank you very much.
in trillions and trillions of dollars to create jobs like we have never seen before. I did it with China and I did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it because there was so much money they couldn't do anything about it. We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen anymore.
This is where he doesn't understand what a trade deficit is, okay? Imagine I own the local school and I buy ketchup at Walmart. You and your family buy ketchup at Walmart. I might buy 1,000 fucking bottles a month. You might buy 1 bottle a month. It's not hurting you in any way that all you could do is buy 1 bottle a month and me buying 1,000. Like, Canada's population is so much smaller than ours. So just because we have a trade deficit, their average citizen, if you average out how much they spend in the U.S. per citizen, it's over $7,000 per citizen. If you average out us, it's $1,000 per citizen because there's so many more people here and we buy so much more shit. The trade deficits don't mean anything, or at least they don't mean what he thinks they mean.
Much has been said over the last 3 months about Mexico and Canada, but we have very large deficits with both of them. But even more importantly, they've allowed fentanyl to come into our country at levels never seen before, killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens and many very young, beautiful people, destroying families. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They are, in effect, receiving subsidies of hundreds of billions of dollars. We pay subsidies to Canada.
That dude looks like you took a torch to Stretch Armstrong.
And to Mexico of hundreds of billions of dollars. And the
Just kind of had left him half melted.
Any longer.
Tom Homan.
Any longer. Thanks to our America First policies we're putting into place, we have had $1.7 trillion of new investment in America in just the past few weeks. The combination of the election.
Well, I don't know about safer. Concrete doesn't burn, right? But if you frame it in wood on the inside, all that shit still burns. I don't know about safer, but yeah, concrete doesn't burn.
And our economic policies that people of SoftBank, one of the most brilliant anywhere in the world, announced a $200 billion investment. OpenAI and Oracle, Larry Ellison, announced $500 billion investment, which they wouldn't have done if Kamala had won.
And Elon calls it fake, says they don't have the money, that it's not real. By the way, at Suco, did you add the term to the permitted list, cocksucker? Is that what we're paying you to do? Add words to the list? Cocksucker?
Apple announced $500 billion investment. Tim Cook called me. He said, I cannot spend
Oh, Tim Cook or Tim Apple? Tim Cook or Tim Apple?
enough. It's going to be much higher than that, I believe. They'll be building their plants here instead of in China. And just yesterday, Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, most powerful in the world, has a tremendous amount, 97% of the market, announced a
Tim Apple from Apple.
$1 billion investment to build the most powerful chips on earth right here in
He thinks because he names everything Trump that everybody else does the same thing. So who owns Apple? Tim Apple. Who owns Walmart? Joe Walmart.
USA. And we're not giving them any money. Your CHIPS Act is a horrible, horrible thing. We give hundreds of billions of dollars, and it doesn't mean a thing. They take our money and they don't spend it. All that meant to them, we're giving them no money. All that was important to them was they didn't want to pay the tariffs, so they came and they're building, and many other companies are coming.
The CHIPS Act was pretty successful from everything that I've seen about it. Right, that was the Chips and Science Act. It was a reinvestment into domestic research and manufacturing on semiconductors.
We just want to protect our businesses and our people, and they will come because they won't have to pay tariffs if they build in America. So it's very amazing. You should get rid of the CHIP Act, and whatever's left over, Mr. Speaker, you should use it to reduce debt or any other reason you want to. Our new trade policy will also be great for the American farmer. I love the farmer. Who will now be selling into our home market, the USA, because nobody is going to be able to compete with you. Because there's goods that come in from other countries and companies, they're really in a bad position in so many different ways. They're uninspected. They may be very dirty and disgusting, and they come in and they pour in, and they hurt.
Sorry, I know we're behind now, but I paused it.
Foreign agricultural product coming into America, and our farmers starting on April 2nd. It may be a little bit of an adjustment period.
Atsuko is like Trump.
The deal with China, $50 billion of purchases, and I said, just bear with me, and they did. They did. Probably have to bear with me again, and this will be even better. That was great. The problem with it was that Biden didn't enforce it. He didn't enforce it. $50 billion of purchases.
When we had to bail out the soybeans, he had to bail out the soybean farmers.
And we were doing great, but Biden did not enforce it, and it hurt our farmers. But our farmers are going to have
You had to bail them out under your administration. Biden wasn't even there yet.
a field day right now. So to our farmers, have a lot of fun. I love you too. I love you too. It's all going to happen. And I have also imposed a 25% tariff on foreign aluminum, copper, lumber, and steel, because if we don't have, as an example, steel and lots of other things, we don't have a military, and frankly, we just won't have a country very long. Here today is a proud American steel.
The Trump administration gave more taxpayer bailout money to farmers harmed by the tariffs than the federal government spends each year building ships for the Navy and maintaining our nuclear arsenal. His bad deal and the tariffs that fucked over the farmers paid out more than we spend on maintaining our nuclear arsenal or building ships for the Navy.
Steel worker, fantastic person from Decatur, Alabama, Jeff Denard.
$28 billion.
Working at the same steel plant for 27 years in a job that has allowed him to serve as the captain of his local volunteer fire department, raise 7...
It was more than all of NASA's budget. More than all of NASA's budget. More than all of children's health insurance. More than just about almost anything you could imagine. $28 billion in bailouts for his bad deal with China.
With his beautiful wife, Nicole, and over the years provide a loving home for more than 40 foster children. So great, Jeff.
China called his bail, or his bluff.
Thank you, Jeff. Stories like Jeff's remind us that tariffs are not just about protecting American jobs. They're about protecting the soul of our country. Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again, and it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much. No, you're not. Oh. And look where Biden took us. Very low, the lowest we've ever been. Jeff, I want to thank you very much. And I also want to recognize another person who has devoted herself to foster care community. She works so hard on it. A very loving person, our magnificent First Lady of the United States. Melania's work has yielded incredible results, helping prepare our nation's future leaders as they enter the workforce. Our First Lady is joined by two impressive young women, very impressive. Haley Ferguson, who benefited from the First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative and is poised to complete her education and become a teacher. And Elliston Berry, who became a victim of an illicit deepfake image produced by a peer. With Elliston's help, the Senate just passed the Take It Down Act, and this is so important. Thank you very much, John. John Thune, thank you. Stand up, John. Thank you, John.
Yeah, that's his code word. When he breaks and says thank you, start clapping.
Thank you.
So she had deep fake porn made of her?
Thank you to John Thune and the Senate. Great job.
Dude, quick story time. When I was in high school, a bunch of black cars show up and like agents jump out of them. They come in and drag some kid out of school into an office to like question him, and then he ends up leaving there, not in handcuffs, but he still ends up leaving there like a wall of guys in black suits with something. They look like Secret Service or something. All he did was gather a bunch of social media posts of like girls in bathing suits, and obviously there's no nudity because they were allowed on social media. He distributed that, and they come snatched him up real quick.
Criminalize the publication of such images online is a terrible, terrible thing. And once it passes the House, I look forward to signing that bill into law. Thank you. And I'm going to use that bill for myself, too, if you don't mind. Because nobody gets treated worse than I do online. Nobody. That's great. Thank you very much to the Senate. Thank you. But if we truly care about protecting Americans' children, no step is more crucial than securing America's borders. Over the past 4 years, 21 million people poured into the United States. Many of them were murderers, human traffickers, gang members, and other criminals from the streets of dangerous cities all throughout the world.
You know what that reminds me of when he pointed at the Democrats just now? You guys ever seen that clip of, I've got it pulled up because I was just watching it today. This clip of Mike Johnson right here. Watch this.
Oh, the official number is 9 million encounters at the southern border alone, just since Joe Biden took office. But the actual number is probably close to 16 million.
Am I too far ahead?
Who have come into the country because they desired it. They designed it.
I might have to back up some. Hold on.
That way. His actions did that. He ended the Remain in Mexico policy under President Trump's administration. They reinstated catch and release that had been practiced under the Obama administration. They stopped building the wall. They did everything exactly the opposite of what this president had achieved. And that's why we have this catastrophe. It has all sorts of terrific office. But the actual number is probably specific executive actions that he took from the issue that scored so high in the polls as a matter of concern. And it doesn't matter where anyone lives, because as we say now, every state is a border state. They're deeply concerned.
It's right here somewhere.
Integrity is tied to the lack of border security. President Biden has created a catastrophe, and he did it by design.
He points at Trump when he says hardened criminals.
64 specific executive actions that he took from the day he walked into the Oval Office.
I'll find it in a minute. We'll go back to the live video. Sorry. Should have had it keyed up already. He points at Trump when he says hardened criminals, or many of them hardened criminals, and does like this. It's funny.
Because of Joe Biden's insane and very dangerous open border policies, they are now strongly embedded in our country, but we are getting them out and getting them out fast. And I want to thank Tom Homan and Christy. I want to thank you and Paul of Border Patrol. I want to thank you. What a job they've all done, everybody. Border Patrol.
Oh, Paul. Yeah, I was thinking about Paul.
In general is incredible. We have to take care of our law enforcement. Have to.
Unless they were beaten, tased, and attacked by Jan 6ers, then, well, you guys just need to toughen up a little bit. Do you know that Ben Shapiro on the Daily Wire started a petition to have Derek Chauvin of the George Floyd incident pardoned?
Last year, a brilliant 22-year-old nursing student named Laken Riley, the best in her class, admired by everybody, went out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia. That morning, Laken was viciously attacked, assaulted, beaten, brutalized, and...
Oh, here we go.
Laken was stolen from us by a savage illegal alien gang member who was arrested while trespassing across Biden's open southern border and then set loose into the United States under the heartless policies of that failed administration. It was indeed a failed administration. He had then been arrested and released in a Democrat-run sanctuary city, a disaster, before ending the life of this beautiful young angel. With us this evening are Laken's beloved mother, Allison, and her sister, Lauren. Last year, I told Laken's grieving parents that we would ensure their daughter would not have died in vain. That's why the very first bill I signed into law as your 47th president mandates the detention of all dangerous criminal aliens who threaten public safety. It's a very strong, powerful act. It's called the Laken Riley Act. So Allison and Lauren, America will never, ever forget our beautiful Laken Hope Riley. Thank you very much. Since taking office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration crackdown in American history, and we quickly achieved the lowest numbers of illegal border crossers ever recorded. Thank you. The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation, we must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president. Thank you. Joe Biden didn't just open our borders, he flew illegal aliens over them to overwhelm our schools, hospitals, and communities throughout the country. Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed. Now, just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great liberation of America.
Where are we liberating it from?
But there's still is much work to be done.
We'll see in a minute. We're a little bit behind.
I have gotten to know
5 minutes behind.
Alexis Nungary from Houston. Wonderful woman. Last June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious Jocelyn, walked to a nearby convenience store. She was kidnapped, tied up, assaulted for 2 hours under a bridge, and horrifically murdered. Arrested and charged with this heinous crime are two illegal alien monsters from Venezuela, released into America by the last administration through their ridiculous open border. The death of this beautiful 12-year-old girl and the agony of her mother and family touched our entire nation greatly. Alexis, I promised that we would always remember your daughter, your magnificent daughter, and earlier tonight I signed an order keeping my word to you. One thing I have learned about Jocelyn is that she loved animals so much, she loved nature. Across Galveston Bay, from where Jocelyn lived in Houston, you will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge. A pristine, peaceful, 4,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis, moments ago, I formally renamed that refuge in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, if you would, may I have the order?
How much Adderall? They probably got it tapped in an IV underneath his jacket.
Thank you very much. All three savages charged with Jocelyn and Lakin's murders were members of the Venezuelan prison gang, the toughest gang they say in the world, known as Tren de Aragua. 2 weeks ago, I officially designated this gang, along with MS-13 and the bloodthirsty Mexican drug cartels, as foreign terrorist organizations. They are now officially in the same category as ISIS, and that's not good for them. Countless thousands of these terrorists were welcomed into the U.S. by the Biden administration.
Dr. Pepper, that's it.
One will be rounded up and forcibly removed from our country, or, if they're too dangerous, put in jails, standing trial in this country, because we don't want them to come back ever. With us this evening is a warrior on the front lines of that battle, Border Patrol
This must be it.
Roberto Ortiz. Great guy. In January, Roberto and another agent were patrolling by the Rio Grande, near an area known as Cartel Island. Doesn't sound too nice to me. When heavily armed gunmen started shooting at them, Roberto
says the dumbest shit, dude.
Exposed at great danger, and he leapt into action, returning fire and providing crucial seconds for his fellow agent to seek safety, just barely. I have some of the prints of that event, and it was not good. Agent Ortiz, we salute you for your great courage and for your line of fire that you took, and for the bravery that you showed. We honor you, and we will always honor you. Thank you, Roberto, very much. Thank you, Roberto. And I actually got to know him on my many calls to the border. He's a great gentleman. The territory to the immediate south of our border is now dominated entirely by criminal cartels that murder, rape, torture, and exercise total control. They have total control over a whole nation, posing a grave threat to our national security. The cartels are waging war on America, and it's time for America to wage war on the cartels, which we are doing. 5 nights ago, Mexican authorities, because of our tariff policies being imposed on them, think of this, handed over to us 29 of the biggest cartel leaders in their country. That has never happened before. They want to make us happy. First time. But we need Mexico and Canada to do much more than they've done, and they have to stop the fentanyl and drugs pouring.
J.D. Vance.
USA, they're going to stop it.
Goddamn.
I have said Congress.
Like, I want to be nice to him because he looks so much like a toddler, but I also want to punch him right in the fucking face.
A detailed funding request laying out exactly how we will eliminate these threats to protect our homeland and complete the largest.
Oh, I forgot Chad isn't up.
American history, larger even than current record holder, President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a moderate man, but someone who believed very strongly in borders. Americans expect Congress to send me this funding without delay so I can sign it into law. So, Mr. Speaker, John Thune, both of you, I hope you're going to be able to do that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Mr. Leader, thank you. Thank you very much. And let's get it to me. I'll sign it so fast, you won't even believe it.
I wonder how short JD's pants are tonight.
And as we reclaim our sovereignty, we must also bring back law and order to our cities and towns. In recent years, our justice system has been turned upside down by radical left lunatics. Many jurisdictions virtually ceased enforcing the law against dangerous repeat offenders while weaponizing law enforcement against political opponents like me. My administration has acted swiftly and decisively to restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law, starting at the FBI and the DOJ. Pam, good luck. Cash, wherever you may be, good luck. Good luck. Pam Bondi. Good luck. So important. Going to do a great job. Cash, thank you. Thank you, Cash.
So the right is very mad at Cash, Pam Bondi. Not only did they really fuck up the Epstein thing, they promised to release the documents about Seth Rich. They all think Seth Rich was killed by Hillary, and now they're saying they're not going to put those out. They're supposed to come out on March the 10th.
They've already started very strong. They're going to do a fantastic job. You're going to be very proud.
I hope you have fun,
We're also
Steve.
once again giving our
Gonna miss you, buddy.
support, protection, and respect they so dearly deserve. They have to get it. They have such a hard, dangerous job, but we're going to make it less dangerous. The problem is the bad guys don't respect the law, but they're starting to respect it, and they soon will respect it. This also includes our great fire departments throughout the country. Our firemen and women are unbelievable people, and we'll never forget them. And besides that, they voted for me in record numbers, so I have no choice. 1 year ago this month, 31-year-old New York police officer Jonathan Diller, unbelievably wonderful person and a great officer, was gunned down at a traffic stop on Long Island. I went to his funeral. The vicious criminal charged with his murder had 21 prior arrests, and they were rough arrests, too. He was a real bad one. The thug in the seat next to him...
They think the arrest... They think that the Epstein files were coming out so they could publicly arrest, like, Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton, like, crazy shit. And obviously, it was just shit we already had. And Trump's on there 7 times.
Went by the name of Killer. He was Killer. He killed other people, they say, a lot of them. I attended Officer Diller's service, and when I met his wife and 1-year-old son, Ryan, it was very inspirational.
His nickname was Killer?
The thug in the seat next to him had 14 prior arrests and went by the name of Killer. He was at a traffic stop on Long Island. I went to his funeral. The vicious criminal charged with his murder had 21 prior arrests, and they were rough arrests, too. He was a real bad one. The thug in the seat next to him had 14 prior arrests and went by the name of Killer. He was Killer. He killed other people, they say, a lot of them. I attended Officer Diller's service, and when I met his wife and 1-year-old son, Ryan...
Are you telling me he was a Diller killer?
And it was very inspirational, actually. His widow's name is Stephanie, and she is here tonight. Stephanie, thank you very much, Stephanie. Thank you very much.
Mariah, if I ever get killed by a brown person, like ISIS ever hunts us down or something, and there's a Republican president, I expect you to capitalize. I want you to start a vlog and a coaching service and a social media channel.
Stephanie, we're going to make sure that Ryan knows his dad was a true hero, New York's finest, and we're going to get these cold-blooded killers and repeat offenders off our streets, and we're going to do it fast. Got to stop it. They get out with 28 arrests. They push people into subway trains. They hit people over the head, back of the head with baseball bats. We got to get them out of here. I've already signed an executive order requiring a mandatory death penalty for anyone who murders a police officer, and tonight I'm asking Congress to pass that policy into permanent law.
Whoa. Mandatory death penalty sounds... Why? How often do they fuck shit up, dude?
Asking for a new crime bill getting tougher on repeat offenders while enhancing protections for America's police officers so they can do their jobs without fear of their lives being totally destroyed. They don't want to be killed. We're not going to let them be killed.
How can you take that away from the judge and the jury, or it's different from state to state? How can you take that power away?
Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer.
I can't do the people using their kids as props thing.
But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer.
The kid hasn't done anything wrong, but
The doctors...
it's like when you see a kid at a rally and they're like, one of them, I saw Walt Masterson say the other day, he was talking to some kids. He's like, what would you do to me if I was an illegal? And they're like, we'd kick you and beat you up and throw you out of our country. Like, oh, man, dude. My kids don't even know what it means to be illegal. You know what I mean?
Gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago.
What the fuck is George Clooney doing there?
Dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service. DJ's doctors believe his cancer likely came from a chemical he was exposed to when he was younger. Since 1975, rates of child cancer have increased by more than 40%. Reversing this trend is one of the top priorities for our new presidential commission to make America healthy again, chaired by our new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
They're mad at Kennedy, RFK, because he's telling people to get the MMR vaccine because the shit down in Texas is happening. I thought he was going to be anti-vaccine. I didn't sign up for this.
With the name Kennedy, you would have thought everybody over here would have been cheering. How quickly they forget. Our goal is to get toxins
His own family doesn't support him.
out of our environment, poisons out of our food supply, and keep our children healthy and strong. As an example, not long ago, and you can't even believe these numbers, 1 in 10,000 children had autism. 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 30.
All right, you know this is a lie, right? I mean, technically it's true, but it's because we've gotten better at... Autism used to just be the most nonverbal, couldn't function, couldn't communicate, and now there's a spectrum, right? From like, hey, you would never even know, to like the worst case you've ever seen. When before, all we were counting for was like the worst case you've ever seen. They don't fit in any other category. They got this.
36. There's something wrong. 1 in 36. Think of that. So we're going to find out what it is, and there's nobody better than Bobby and all of the people that are working with you. You have the best to figure out what is going on. Okay, Bobby, good luck. It's a very important job. Thank you. Thank you. My administration is also working to protect our children from toxic ideologies in our schools. A few years ago, January, Little John and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly, socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl.
Socially transitioned?
Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. they, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January, who is here tonight and is now a courageous advocate against this form of child abuse. January, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
What are the chances that teachers push this on versus the kid just come up with it and the teachers were just trying to follow the kid's wishes?
Thank you. Stories like this are why, shortly after taking office, I signed an executive order banning public schools from indoctrinating our children with transgender ideology. I also signed an order to cut off all taxpayer funding to any institution that engages in the sexual mutilation of our youth. And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you. Because we're getting wokeness out of our schools and out of our military, and it's already out. And it
Seems like she's most outraged because her daughter had these feelings. She went to the school, so the school tried to address it. And part of the addressing was they asked her, well, which restroom do you feel more comfortable using? Do you have a preference on which locker room you would feel more comfortable using? Like that's her main argument.
It's out of our society. We don't want it. Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone. And we feel so much better for it, don't we? Don't we feel better? Our service members won't be activists and ideologues. They will be fighters and warriors. They will fight for our country. And Pete, congratulations. Secretary of Defense, congratulations.
Why would we have a vested interest in if a kid was like gay, right, or something non-traditional, whatever you would consider non-traditional, especially in a traditional area? What vested interest would a teacher have in not sharing that with a family? Dude, everybody I grew up with, if they'd have come home and told their dad they were gay, they'd have been thrown out or beaten. There shouldn't be a situation that you shouldn't be in a situation that your kid is so afraid to come out to you that they're coming out to other people and those people are afraid to tell you.
He's not big into the woke movement, I can tell you. I know him well. I am pleased to report that in January, the U.S. Army had its single best recruiting month in 15 years, and that all armed services are having among the best recruiting results ever in the history of our services. What a difference. And you know, it was just a few months ago where the results were exactly the opposite. We couldn't recruit anywhere. We couldn't recruit. Now we're having the best results just about that we've ever had. What a tremendous turnaround.
It's not that we've ever had.
People love our...
Holy shit. You couldn't... World War II, people were lying about stuff to get in.
Again, it's very simple. They love our country, and they love being in our military again. So it's a great thing, and thank you very much. Great job.
In December of 2024, the Army had its best recruiting month in 15 years. Who was president?
We're joined tonight by a young man, Jason Hartley, who knows the weight of that call of duty. Jason's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather all wore the uniform. Jason tragically lost his dad, who was also a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy when he was just a boy, and now he wants to carry on the family legacy of service. Jason is a senior in high school, a six-letter varsity athlete, a really good athlete, they say, a brilliant student with a 4.46, that's good, GPA. And his greatest dream is to attend the U.S. Military Academy at West Point.
You might have to slam down some.
And Jason, that's a very big deal getting in. That's a hard one to get into. But I'm pleased to inform you that your application has been accepted. You will soon be joining the Corps of Cadets.
Oh my God, where'd that kid come from? Does his dad throw him down there? Sounds a lot like DEI. Sure does.
Jason, you're going to be on the long gray line, Jason. As Commander-in-Chief, my focus is on building the most powerful military of the future. As a first step, I'm asking Congress to fund a state-of-the-art Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland, all made in the USA. And Ronald Reagan wanted to do it long ago, but the technology just wasn't there, not even close. But now we have the technology. It's incredible, actually. And other places, they have it. Israel has it.
The DEI recruit.
Other places have it. And the United States should have it too, right, Tim, right? They should have it too. So I want to thank you. But it's a very, very important. This is a very dangerous world. We should have.
How ironic is it that we are safer? Trump wants to build an Iron Dome, which is retarded. We're not the right shape or size to have an Iron Dome. Second of all, how retarded is it that he's fucking trying to hand over Ukraine to Putin, basically, and get minerals out of the deal? And our air defense system has never been more robust thanks to Ukraine. How often does our air defense system get actual targets in combat that has a decent fucking air force? The answer is never, right? We're usually shooting down bullshit. Some guy dropping mortars that were left over from the fucking Cold War. All the data, every time a missile fires at a target or not at a target in Ukraine, all that data gets tracked back to us. Every bit of it. We couldn't ask for a better environment to train our missile defense systems.
Have it. We want to be protected, and we're going to protect our citizens like never before. To boost our defense industrial base, we are also going to resurrect the American shipbuilding industry, including commercial shipbuilding and military shipbuilding.
This is something we probably should be doing with China on the brink and Taiwan, but we're probably not going to be able to do it all stateside. We might have, for the first time ever, to have some military ships built in like South Korea or somewhere.
And for that purpose, I am announcing tonight,
we just don't have the capacity.
Create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America where it belongs. We used to make so many ships. We don't make them anymore very much, but we're going to make them very fast, very soon.
Guys, don't you want to be a hot riveter in a shipyard? Isn't that the American dream?
Have a huge impact. To further enhance our national security, my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it.
What does that mean?
Just today, a large American company announced they are buying both ports around the Panama Canal and lots of other things having to do with the Panama Canal and a couple of other canals.
Oh, my God. Has his ears always been that big? Holy fuck, dude. I've never seen him from this angle. Holy shit. They go from his lips to mid-brow. Holy fuck. I'm sorry, that just caught me off guard. It was like a jump scare. I've never seen him from this angle. That is wild looking. Get that fucking radar upgrade.
The Panama Canal was built by Americans for Americans, not for others, but others could use it. But it was built at tremendous cost of American blood and treasure. 38,000 workers died building the Panama Canal.
He could just direct people to build more ships, but instead he's gonna make this Office of Shipbuilding and put all his friends in it so they can draw a salary while they tell the Navy to build more ships.
They died of malaria. They died of snake bites and mosquitoes. Not a nice place to work. They paid them very highly to go there, knowing there was a 25% chance that they would die. The most expensive project also that was ever built in our country's history, if you bring it up to modern day costs. It was given away by the Carter administration for $1, but that agreement has been violated very severely. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back. And we have Marco Rubio in charge. Good luck, Marco. Now, we know who to blame if anything goes wrong.
God, his ears look bigger when he laughs.
Marco's been amazing, and he's going to do a great job. Think of it. He got 100 votes. You know, he was approved with actually 99.
Look at his ear size compared to this guy's ear. There's 60% more ear there.
But the 100th was this gentleman, and I feel very certain. So let's assume he got 100 votes, and I'm either very, very happy about that or I'm very concerned about it. But he's already proven. I mean, he's a great gentleman. He's respected by everybody, and we appreciate you voting for Marco. He's going to do a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you. He's doing a great job.
So it's not the Democrats just hate Trump for hating Trump. Like they did vote for some people that were qualified.
An anonymous user gifted a tier 1 sub to Dillingham 24.
Thank you for the gifted sub. They obviously people that are qualified, a lot of them voted for them. It's just these fucking lunatics that you brought in.
Great job. And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need.
When he talks about the Biden administration flying in illegal immigrants or whatever, this was a humanitarian parole program. It was like 30,000 people from a few countries. It was like Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Haiti, maybe. Monthly basis, they were allowed to come and work here
For 32 months.
as long as they paid their own way. Right? They had to pay their own way here. It was like a temporary work visa program.
Need it really for international.
Thank you for the resubscription.
And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We will keep you safe. We will make you rich, and together we will take Greenland to heights like.
What was that?
Working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security. And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We will keep you safe. We will make you rich, and together we will take Greenland to heights like you have never thought possible before. It's a very small population, but very, very large piece of land and very, very important for military security. America is once again standing strong against the forces of radical Islamic
Imperialism is back, baby.
terrorism. 3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members and countless others in the Abbey Gate bombing during the disastrous and incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not that they were withdrawing, it was the way they withdrew. Perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Tonight, I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice. And I want to thank especially the government of Pakistan for helping arrest this monster. This was a very momentous day for those 13 families who I actually got to know very well, most of them, whose children were murdered, and the many people that were so badly, over 42 people, so badly injured on that fateful day in Afghanistan.
I'm guessing they got somebody involved in planning because it was a suicide bombing, so they didn't get that guy.
Was shown that when Putin saw what happened, I guess he said, wow, maybe this is my chance. That's how bad it was. Should have never happened. Grossly incompetent people. I spoke to many of the parents and loved ones, and they're all in our hearts tonight. Just spoke to them on the phone. We had a big call. Every one of them called, and everybody was on the line, and they did nothing but cry with happiness. They were very happy as you can be under those circumstances. Their child, brother, sister, son, daughter was killed for no reason whatsoever. In the Middle East, we're bringing back our hostages from Gaza. In my first term, we achieved one of the most groundbreaking peace agreements in generations, the Abraham Accords. And now we're going to build on that foundation to create a more peaceful and prosperous future for the entire region. A lot of things are happening in the Middle East. People haven't been talking about that so much lately with everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. But a lot of things are happening in the Middle East. It's a rough neighborhood, actually. I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict with no end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense with no security, with no anything. Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes. With no security, the United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense. With no security, with no anything.
I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything.
With no end. And And now we're going to build on that foundation to create a more peaceful and prosperous future for the entire region. A lot of things are happening in the Middle East. People haven't been talking about that so much lately with everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. But a lot of things are happening in the Middle East. It's a rough neighborhood, actually. I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict with no end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense with no security, with no anything. Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes. $2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that. They're Russian young people. They're
Why would you say a number than say more than that?
Ukrainian young people. They're not Americans, but I want it to stop. Meanwhile, Europe has sadly spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine, by far. Think of that. They've spent more buying Russian oil and gas than they have defending. And we've spent perhaps $350 billion, like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened. And they've spent $100 billion. What a difference that is. And we have...
What were the numbers?
Like taking candy from Russian oil and gas than they have defending. And we've spent perhaps $350 billion.
Wrong. This is absolutely a lie, right? We've went over this and over this and over this and over this and over this. Actually, Europe as a whole has put in more than we have. When I try to bring this up as a topic, like y'all are lying on Facebook and fucking bumfuck Tennessee here, people are like, it should be zero. No one has that belief.
Like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened. And they've spent $100 billion. What a difference that is. And we have an ocean separating us, and they don't. But we're getting along very well with them, and lots of good things are happening. Biden has authorized more money in this fight than Europe has spent by billions and billions of dollars. It's hard to believe that they wouldn't have stopped it and said, at some point, come on, let's equalize. You got to be equal to us. But that didn't happen. Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace. Zelensky of Ukraine. Come on, let's equalize. You got to be equal to us. But that didn't happen. Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready
with a security agreement.
Work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you. I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Some people suggested that the civilians they're mining would be the security guarantee. Because if Russia fucks up while they're attacking Ukraine again and accidentally kills a U.S. civilian, then we're going to attack them back. But I thought we were trying to avoid World War III. Right? They want multinational peacekeepers there to make sure that Russia doesn't invade again. And I don't fucking blame them. 25 different agreements they've signed, 25 different agreements they've broken.
Wouldn't that be beautiful?
And what's worse is like, let's say we people that say we just want peace now, we don't care. What will happen is Ukraine will not be able to strengthen itself, right? Because the aid will stop. Their population has been decimated, and Russia will keep building and building and building and building a military. So when they do come back in a year, 2 years, 3 years, then they'll have the chance to steamroll over them if there's no security guarantee.
To stop this madness, it's time to halt the killing. It's time to end.
Got a small dick, but wait till it get hard. She gonna be like, damn, shit, my God.
Trump is a chubby little bitch from Michaela Robertson. Thank you very much for the 3 6-packs. I appreciate that. He is a chubby little bitch.
End the senseless war. If you want to end wars, you have to talk to both sides. Nearly 4 years ago, amid rising tensions, a history teacher named Mark Fogel was detained in Russia and sentenced to 14 years in a penal colony. Rough stuff. The previous administration barely lifted a finger to help him. They knew he was innocent, but they had no idea where to begin. But last summer, I promised his 95-year-old mother, Malphine, that we would bring her boy.
What the fuck was this?
Nearly 4 years ago, time to halt the killing. It's time to end the senseless war. If you want to end wars, you have to talk to both sides. Nearly 4 years ago, amid rising tensions, a history teacher named Mark Fogel was detained in Russia and sentenced to 14 years in a penal colony. Rough stuff. The previous administration barely lifted a finger to help him. They knew he was innocent, but they had no idea where to begin. But last summer, I promised his 95-year-old mother, Malphine, that we would bring her boy safely back home. After 22 days in office, I did just that, and they are here tonight.
It's weird what his mom did, the mouse she made. I don't know.
To Mark and his great mom, we are delighted to have you safe and sound and with us. As fate would have it, Mark Fogel was born in a small rural town in Butler, Pennsylvania. Have you heard of it? Where his mother has lived for the past 78 years. I just happened to go there last July 13th for a rally. That was not pleasant. And that is where I met his beautiful mom right before I walked onto that stage. And I told her I would not forget what she said about her son. And I never did I? Never forgot. Less than 10 minutes later, at that same rally, gunfire rang out, and a sick and deranged assassin unloaded 8 bullets from his sniper's perch into a crowd of many thousands of people. My life was saved by a fraction of an inch, but some were not so lucky. Corey Comparator was a firefighter, a veteran, a Christian, a husband, a devoted father, and above all, a protector. When the sound of gunshots pierced the air, it was a horrible sound. Corey knew instantly what it was and what to do. He threw himself on top of his wife and daughters and shielded them from the bullets with his own body. Corey was hit really hard. You know the story from there. He sacrificed his life to save theirs. 2 others, very fine people, were also seriously hit. But thankfully...
He did not sacrifice his life. He wasn't covering the people above him. He got shot in the back of the fucking head and never knew I hit him.
Of 2 great country doctors. We thought they were gone and they were saved. So those doctors had great talent. We're joined by Corey's wife, Helen, who was his high school sweetheart, and their 2 beloved daughters, Allison and Kaylee. Thank you.
He was arrested for bringing drugs into Russia, by the way.
To Helen, Allison, and Kaylee, Corey is looking down on his 3 beautiful ladies right now, and he is cheering you on. He loves you.
He's looking up. I've seen his Twitter feed.
He is cheering you on. Corey was taken from us much too soon, but his destiny was to leave us all with a shining example of the
BlackRock owns the high school there.
American patriot. It was love like Corey's that built our country, and it's love like Corey's that is going to make our country more majestic than ever before. I believe that my life was saved that day in Butler for a very good reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. I believe that. Thank you very much. From the patriots of Lexington and Concord to the heroes of Gettysburg and Normandy, from the warriors who crossed the Delaware to the trailblazers who climbed the Rockies, and from the legends who soared at Kitty Hawk to the astronauts who touched the moon, Americans have always been the people who defied all odds, transcended all dangers, made the most extraordinary sacrifices, and did whatever it took to defend our children, our
he had a half a fucking ounce of weed when he landed in Russia.
And our freedom. And as we have seen in this chamber tonight, that same strength, faith, love, and spirit is still alive and thriving in the hearts of the American people. Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free, and we will fight for it till death. We will never let anything happen to our beloved country, because we are a country of doers, dreamers, fighters, and survivors. Our ancestors crossed a vast ocean, strode into the unknown wilderness, and carved their fortunes from the rock and soil of a perilous and very dangerous frontier. They chased our destiny across a boundless continent. They built the railroads, laid the highways, and graced the world with American marvels like the Empire State Building, the mighty Hoover Dam, and the towering Golden Gate Bridge. They lit the world with electricity, broke free of the force of gravity, fired up the engines of American industry, vanquished the communists, fascists, and Marxists all over the world, and gave us countless modern wonders sculptured out of iron, glass, and steel. We stand on the shoulders of these pioneers who won and built the modern age. These workers who poured their sweat into the skylines of our cities. These warriors who shed their blood on fields of battle and gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. Now it is our time to...
Oh, that's awesome. My marketing business thrives off me attacking people. Hell yeah, that's the business I want.
Take up the righteous cause of American liberty. And it is our turn to take America's destiny into our own hands and begin the most thrilling days in the history of our country. This will be our greatest era. With God's help, over the next 4 years, we are going to lead this nation even higher, and we are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization ever to exist on the face of this earth. We are going to create the highest quality of life, build the safest and wealthiest and healthiest and most vital communities anywhere in the world. We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we are going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond.
I heard Elon Musk scream immediately. Listen when he says Mars.
Going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond.
Yeah. He came a little, probably.
And through it all, we are going to rediscover the unstoppable power of the American spirit. And we are going to renew unlimited promise of the American dream. Every single day, we will stand up and we will fight, fight, fight for the country our citizens believe in and for the country our people deserve.
When he starts hitting the desk and waving his arms around, we'll know.
My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future, because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
I'd say Germany's seen something like it. I don't know for sure. There's got to be a rebuttal, though.
Thank you very much. Great job. Great on. Thank you. Thank you. This one's going. Great on. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. See you soon. Young people to roll now. I'm trying to. Thank you. That's your favorite. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Howard. Thank you again. Thank you again. Won't forget.
So good. That's good. So good, sir.
I won't forget.
That's terrific. This is really good. It's really outstanding. Thanks.
Do they know his mic's still on?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good job, Mr. President. Thanks. We got you. Great.
Thanks again.
Remember when he got beat so badly in the debate? JD had to come say like, I'm sure that nobody even watched it. Don't worry about it.
Thanks for the phone call last night, too.
I'll do it. Just give me the information.
I'm not going to give you, sorry.
Thank you, everybody. Great speech.
Great speech. Best speech ever.
Yes.
President Roger Williams, thanks for the call.
I love Roger Williams.
Thank you.
You don't have to introduce yourself.
Mr. President.
I know you better than you do, Roger.
Thank you so much.
My great baseball.
America
Good
is-
job. Great job you're doing.
America is back. Thank you so much,
Welcome you
Mr.
back to
President.
Pennsylvania anytime, sir.
They stood for.
Thank you all.
They stood for another country, not our country. That was phenomenal.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
That was fantastic, sir. That was thank you very much. Thank you. Quick selfie. Mr. President.
Good job, Mr. President. Good job. Thank you so much. Great speech, sir. Thanks so much. Yes, sir.
President back in Pennsylvania.
Oh, just pick
much.
You rocked it, Mr. President. We're with you, 100%. Crushed. Really good.
Congratulations.
Usually the mic's muted by now.
Thank you.
Mr. President, that was great.
That was awesome.
Great job. Let's go. Get down to that. You get down. Good luck.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It's so great.
Thank you, everybody. Good job.
Thank you for mentioning God needs to help us.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Thank you. Great speech. Great speech.
Thanks for taking my call.
Good luck. Yeah.
Thank you for standing
You
strong.
really triggered those people.
Tremendous, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for the beneficial ownership
You really triggered those people. Somebody did.
this week.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for mentioning farmers.
Well, we love our farmers. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Mr. You earned this night.
Thank you very much.
How much shit you think? How many times, if we put a hot mic on Trump 24 hours a day, how long would it take before he dropped a hard R?
Appreciate it. We're trying. Thank you, man.
Proud of you. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great again, brother.
They're on an elevated platform. They're like up where the seats are.
Thank you. Good endorsement here.
I did indeed. You better believe it.
Very well done,
Good
sir.
endorsement.
President, home run.
Thank you.
Great job.
You killed it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, everybody.
You did great.
Thank you. Good job. Thank
Hey,
you.
great to see you. Slam dunk.
You're doing good.
Thank you, sir. You did amazing, per usual.
Thank you. I'll see you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Hey, cheese. Thank you. Love you, Mr. President. Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Look at this beautiful.
New congressman from Eastern Washington. We've never met.
Oh,
Michael
that's
Baumgartner.
good.
I was one of Mike Leach's best friends.
Oh,
He thinks very highly
Mike
of you.
was, he was
Tremendous.
He was a great guy.
Great
What a
speech. Great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Respect you. You did a great job. Yeah, thank you.
Home run.
Yeah, right.
Home run. Home run.
That was a good one. President, good to see you, sir.
This is so weird that the mic's still on. Like, so weird.
Good job. Thank you very much. Looking good. Look at him.
I need to talk to you about some buildings, some public buildings.
You let me know.
I need to talk to you about some buildings, some public buildings.
I will. Thank you, sir. Mr. President.
Please leave it on.
She was married. All of a sudden, she's now got the big phony picture and she's totally changed her life. I'm automatically I just got kissing. It's like I'm mad. When you start, they let you do it. You can do anything.
The house will be in order.
I'm leaving her like a bitch. I couldn't get there. And she was married. All of a sudden,
The house will be in order. For what purpose does the gentleman from Louisiana seek recognition?
Of the whole House on the State of the Union and ordered printed.
do anything.
Without objection.
I couldn't get there. And she was married. All of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony pics and everything. She's totally changed her life. And I'm automatically blocking. I just got kissing. It's like I'm mad. And when you start, they let you do it. You can do anything. You have that person.
Does the gentleman...
We're not supposed to be hearing what's going on in the background. I'm almost positive.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House now stand adjourned.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow for morning debate.
That was an interesting hot mic. I want somebody to take that and break it down. Did you guys see, let's see. Did you guys see this one? It's a hot mic from 2017.
I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there. She was married. And all of a sudden I see her, she's now got the big phony tits and everything. She's totally changed her look.
I moved on her like a bitch. Little hot mic from Trump. What is this one?
By the way, I think the speech is going to be great, but I don't know how you do this for 90 minutes.
The hardest thing was doing it during Biden, when the speech was a stupid campaign speech.
So that was Mike Johnson and J.D. Vance on a hot mic. They said that Zelensky called J.D. Vance a bitch under his breath during that hot mic. So we have to go see what the Democrats are going to respond, I'm sure. I don't know if it'll be broadcast on the same channel. Oh, maybe. Awaiting Democratic response.
I'm Melissa Slotkin. I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak tonight. It's late, so I promise to be
Are they really not going to turn off the background noise for this part?
a lot shorter than what you just watched. I want you personally, if you've never heard of me, I'm the new senator from the great state of Michigan, where I grew up. I've been in public service my entire life because I happened to be in New York City on 9/11 when the Twin Towers came down. Before the smoke cleared, I knew I wanted to make a life in national security. I was recruited by the CIA and did 3 tours in Iraq alongside the military. In between, I worked at the White House under President Bush and President Obama, 2 very different leaders who both believed that America is exceptional. You can find that same sense of patriotism here in Wyandotte, Michigan, where I'm speaking from tonight. It's a working class town just south of Detroit. President Trump and I both won here in November. It might not seem like it, but plenty of places like this still exist across the United States. Places where people believe that if you work hard and play by the rules, you should do well and your kids should do better. It reminds me of how I grew up. My dad was a lifelong Republican, my mom a lifelong Democrat. But it was never a big deal because we had shared values that were bigger than any one party. We just went through another fraught election season. Americans made it clear that prices are too high and that the government needs to be more responsive to their needs. America wants change, but there's a responsible way to make change and a reckless way. And we can make that change without forgetting who we are as a country and as a democracy. So that's what I'm going to lay out tonight. Because whether you're from Wyandotte or Wichita, most Americans share 3 core beliefs: that the middle class is the engine of our country, that strong national security protects us from harm, and that our democracy, no matter how messy, is unparalleled and worth fighting for. Let's start with the economy. Michigan literally invented the middle class, the revolutionary idea that you could work at an auto plant and afford the car you were building. That's the American dream. And in order to expand and protect the middle class, we have to do a few basic things. We need to bring down the price of things we spend the most money on: groceries, housing, healthcare. We need to make more things in America with good-paying union jobs and bring our supply chains back home from places like China. We need to give American businesses the certainty they need to invest and create the jobs of the future. And we need a tax system that's fair for people who don't happen to make $1 billion. Look, the president talked a big game on the economy, but it's always important to read the fine print. So, do his plans actually help Americans get ahead? Not even close. President Trump is trying to deliver an unprecedented giveaway to his billionaire friends. He's on the hunt to find trillions of dollars to pass along to the wealthiest in America. And to do that, he's going to make you pay in every part of your life. Grocery and home prices are going up, not down.
It's going to hurt for a little bit. You got to tighten your belts.
And he hasn't laid out a credible plan to deal with either of those. His tariffs on allies like Canada will raise prices on energy, lumber, and cars, and start a trade war that will hurt manufacturing and farmers. Your premiums and prescriptions will cost more because the math on his proposals doesn't work without going after your health care. Meanwhile, for those keeping score, the national debt is going up, not down. And if he's not careful, he could walk us right into a recession. And one more thing. In order to pay for his plan, he could very well come after your retirement, the Social Security, Medicare, and VA benefits you worked your whole life to earn. The president claims he won't, but Elon Musk just called Social Security the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time. While we're on the subject of Elon Musk, is there anyone in America who is comfortable with him and his gang of 20-year-olds using their own computer servers to poke through your tax returns, your health information, and your bank accounts? No oversight, no protections against cyber attack, no guardrails on what they do with your private data. We need a more efficient government. You want to cut waste? I'll help you do it. But change doesn't need to be chaotic or make us less safe. The mindless firing of people who work to protect our nuclear weapons, keep our planes from crashing, and conduct the research that finds the cure for cancer, only to rehire them 2 days later, no CEO in America could do that without being summarily fired. Okay, so we've talked about economic security. How about national security? Let's start with the border. As someone who spent my whole career protecting our homeland, every country deserves to know who and what is coming across its border. Period. Democrats and Republicans should all be for that. But securing the border without actually fixing our broken immigration system is dealing with the symptom and not the disease. America is a nation of immigrants. We need a functional system keyed to the needs of our economy that allows vetted people to come and work here legally. So I look forward to the president's plan on that. Because here's the thing. Today's world is deeply interconnected. Migration, cyber threats, AI, environmental destruction, terrorism. One nation cannot face these issues alone. We need friends in all corners, and our safety depends on it. President Trump loves to say peace through strength. That's actually a line he stole from Ronald Reagan. But let me tell you, after the spectacle that just took place in the Oval Office last week, Reagan must be rolling in his grave. We all want an end to the war in Ukraine, but Reagan understood that true strength required America to combine our military and economic might with moral clarity. And that scene in the Oval Office wasn't just a bad episode of reality TV. It summed up Trump's whole approach to the world. He believes in cozying up to dictators like Vladimir Putin and kicking our friends like the Canadians in the teeth. He sees American leadership as merely a series of real estate transactions. As a Cold War kid, I'm thankful it was Reagan and not Trump in office in the 1980s. Trump would have lost us the Cold War. Donald Trump's actions suggest that in his heart, he doesn't believe we're an exceptional nation. He clearly doesn't think we should lead the world. Look, America is not perfect, but I stand with the majority of Americans who believe we are still exceptional, unparalleled. And I would rather have American leadership over Chinese or Russian leadership any day of the week. Because for generations, America has offered something better. Our security and our prosperity, yes, but our democracy, our very system of government, has been the aspiration of the world. And right now, it's at risk. It's at risk when the president decides you can pick and choose what rules you want to follow, when he ignores court orders and the Constitution itself, or when elected leaders stand by and just let it happen.
Or play with the idea of ignoring the judges.
But it's also at risk when the president pits Americans against each other, when he demonizes those who are different and tells certain people they shouldn't be included. Because America is not just a patch of land between two oceans. We are more than that. Generations have fought and died to secure the fundamental rights that define us. Those rights and—
Mariah, whatever you're doing, stop right now. No, you just got hacked, Mariah. Go change your password now. PayPal's not going to call you. What are you doing? Go change your password now. PayPal's not going to call you, and they're not going to ask for a code they sent you. Go now. Holy fuck. Go try to log in and click secure my account immediately. You never, ever, 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 ever give a code over the phone. They don't need to send you a code if you're on the phone with them.
Make us who we are. We're a nation of strivers, risk takers, innovators, and we are never satisfied. That is America's superpower. And look, I've lived and worked in many countries. I've seen democracies flicker out. I've seen what life is like when a government is rigged. You can't open a business without paying off a corrupt official. You can't criticize the guys in charge without getting a knock at the door in the middle of the night. So as much as we need to make our government more responsive to our lives today, don't for one moment fool yourself that democracy isn't precious and worth saving. But how do we actually do that? I know a lot of you have been asking that question. First, don't tune out. It's easy to be exhausted, but America needs you now more than ever. If previous generations had not fought for this democracy, where would we be today? Second, hold your elected officials, including me, accountable. Watch how they're voting. Go to town halls and demand they take action. That's as American as apple pie. Third, organize. Pick just one issue you're passionate about and engage. And doom scrolling.
Yeah, she might be talking over most people's heads.
Doesn't count. Join a group that cares about your issue and act. And if you can't find one, start one. Some of the most important movements in our history have come from the bottom up. In closing, we all know that our country is going through something right now. We're not sure what the next day is going to hold, let alone the next decade. But this isn't the first time we've experienced significant and tumultuous change as a country. I'm a student of history, and we've gone through periods of political instability before. And ultimately, we've chosen to keep changing this country for the better. But every single time, we've only gotten through those moments because of two things: engaged citizens and principled leaders. Engaged citizens who do a little bit more than they're used to doing to fight for the things that they care about, and principled leaders who are ready to receive the ball and do something about it. So thank you tonight for caring about your country. Just by watching, you qualify as engaged citizens. And I promise that I and my fellow Democrats will do everything in our power to be the principled leaders that you deserve. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, I don't know. Could have been better, but I was also dealing with a fucking cyber attack on my family, so I was kind of tapped out. There you go. Let's see. I know I grabbed some more videos that we can go over right quick. I'm probably not gonna be on here. I started early. What do you think about that, chat? See, you thought I couldn't do it, didn't you? No company will ever send you a code like through text and then ask you to repeat it back to them. If anything, hang up on them and then call them back if that's the only way you can fucking do it. Let's see. Where is my line? I thought this explainer video was pretty good.
Wants to rate.
You should know how. You should just know. Stop arguing. If they have the ability to send you a code, why would they call you and ask you for that code?
Raise tariffs, and it's going to come out of your pocket.
Tariff. It's more beautiful than love. It's more beautiful than anything. It's the most beautiful word.
Trump keeps saying that other countries pay for tariffs, but that's not how they work. Tariffs are effectively taxes on imported products, which we ultimately pay. Say there's a 60% tariff on Chinese imports. When Walmart imports Mr. Coffee machines from China, which is where they're made, who pays the tariff? Not China. Walmart pays the United States government. For example, if Walmart buys a coffee machine for $20, the 60% tariff means they'll pay an extra $12 in taxes, bringing their total cost to $32 per machine. And if Walmart is paying 60% more, do you think they will cut into their profit margin and absorb that cost? Of course not. They'll pass it on to you. In fact, Walmart's CFO has already said it expects to raise prices in response to Trump's tariffs.
Of course they're going to pass them along to you. They're not going to do it, right?
Tariffs in order to protect its profits. Now, targeted tariffs can be...
Babe, I understand the same number called you 3 times in a row. That doesn't legitimize anything. I could get a fake number right now and call you 100 times in a row. Would you suddenly think I'm your bank? I understand that. It's okay. As long as you stopped it.
Used to protect industries critical to national security. This is what the Biden administration did when it levied tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, solar panels, computer chips, and batteries, after making massive investments in these technologies domestically. But Trump has proposed across-the-board tariffs on almost all imports, particularly from our biggest trading partners. He claims this will help boost American manufacturing and spur job growth, but tariffs alone don't result in new production capacity or more jobs. Plus, American manufacturers import a lot of raw materials for
This is going to be even worse. Like, even if it's American made, how much of the materials come from a foreign nation?
Products they make, so their prices would go up too. While Americans would pay more for imported goods due to tariffs, countries that export the products are also affected. China's government might retaliate with tariffs of its own.
Which the countries will, obviously. Blanket tariffs are stupid. Again, if we weren't going to protect an industry, we're going to protect something that we have. We're going to protect a town and keep it from laying everybody off. Fine. Blanket tariffs?
On American-made products. That's called a trade war. And there are no winners. One of the biggest global trade wars started with the Smoot-Hawley tariff in 1930. After the 1929 stock market crash, President Hoover and Republicans thought sweeping tariffs would help the economy. They didn't. Import prices surged, and exports plummeted because of other countries' retaliatory tariffs. Global trade fell by 66%, worsening the Great Depression. Smoot-Hawley seemed to prove that across-the-board tariffs...
Across-the-board tariffs. People are like, well, Biden kept EV tariffs on China. Blah. Yeah, across-the-board tariffs don't work. Unless those are sanctions, right? Another country does some shit that's deplorable, and we're like, well, we're sanctioning everything from there. Like, we're going to hurt your economy. But now we're just going to do it to ourselves?
Don't work. But then came Trump's first term and his sweeping tariffs largely on China. Higher prices from Trump's tariffs on thousands of products are estimated to have cost American families close to $80 billion. And this cost took a larger chunk out of the incomes of poorer families than richer ones. That's because tariffs are regressive, meaning they take a higher percentage out of the paychecks of working people than out of the paychecks of the wealthy. If you make 50
people, if the wealthy, if their shit goes up 25% on what they buy or whatever, it's not a big deal, right? It really hurts when you're barely getting by.
$50,000 a year, the cost of a coffee maker going up due to tariffs impacts you more than someone making $1 million a year who can better afford the price increase. Following Trump's move, China retaliated with its own tariffs on American exports, which led China to import less from the United States. In the U.S. agriculture industry alone, this resulted in a $27 billion loss in exports from mid-
What? Is this why we ended up having to pay the farmers $28 billion in subsidies, bailout?
2018 to the end of 2019. And even though the government increased aid $50,000 a year, the cost of a coffee maker going up due to tariffs impacts you more than someone.
And then he blames it on Biden somehow. We did a really good thing for the farmers, but Biden didn't follow through.
Making $1 million a year who can better afford the price increase. Following Trump's move, China retaliated with its own tariffs on American exports, which led China to import less from the United States. In the U.S. agriculture industry alone, this resulted in a $27 billion loss in exports from mid-2018 to the end of 2019. And even though the government increased aid to impacted farmers, farm bankruptcies shot up 20%. American manufacturing also shrank as raw materials became more expensive and demand for exports slumped. One study estimates that Trump's trade war cost nearly 300,000 American jobs. But instead of learning a lesson from this fiasco, Trump is now promising even bigger tariffs. In addition to more tariff hikes on China, he plans to levy
The most beautiful word. Not a lot of people want to say it's a word. I know it's a word.
25% tariffs on everything from Canada and Mexico, too. These new tariffs would cost the typical American household an additional $1,200 in 2025. But if Trump makes good on previous pledges to slap tariffs on imports from every country, American families can expect to spend as much as $4,000 more. Trump has suggested he would use the revenue from tariffs to offset more tax cuts for the rich and big corporations. But of course, as I said, any revenue raised from tariffs would be coming out of your pocket. The tariffs you pay could help facilitate this massive transfer of wealth from most Americans to the super rich. So when you're paying more for groceries, gas, and housing, know where your money is really going and know whom to blame.
It's a pretty good explainer video from Robert Reich. Rich, I don't know how he says his name. It's an older guy. He has a bunch of really good explainer videos. I don't know where he's from. Berkeley professor, former Secretary of Labor, co-founder, Inequality Media. Oh, I guess he has his own media company. He does pretty good explainer videos. I see him all the time. People sharing them on TikTok. Fucking these tariffs already have fucked the stock market. They're going to fuck the shit that you buy. They're going to fuck over the shit that you buy for sure. And it's going to affect the poor more than it's going to be anything else. Obviously. Hassan is already unbanned. That happened pretty quickly. Almost immediately. He was banned for 24 hours. That was his whole ban for threatening to kill a sitting congressman or saying that someone should kill a sitting congress member. So Hassan's back in it. Like, that's pretty fucked up. I don't think we got a whole lot of other news coming around. There's one more video that I think is pertinent. I shared it earlier on Telegram and shit, but about Doge. Again, Doge in no way, shape, or form is being honest about this. Again, you don't want the guy doing your audit to be concerned about getting the most retweets. You're fucking yourself from the get-go.
Elon Musk claims to have found billions of dollars of government fraud, waste, and abuse. But on closer inspection, almost all of his claims turned out to be products of Elon's own ignorance. Now, everyone on the planet is in favor of increased governmental efficiency. But the problem is that fraud, waste, and abuse are harder to find than you might think. So much so that there are senior government officials called inspectors general who run entire teams of independent watchdogs with public accountability. Unfortunately, Donald Trump fired most of them in one of his first acts in his second term. And it's particularly important to have federal employees dig into claims of fraud because generally you can't find it by simply looking at a spreadsheet of payments. So when Elon Musk and his Doge bros claimed that they found billions of dollars of fraud by looking at a spreadsheet of payments, we were skeptical. And our skepticism paid off because it turns out to a first-order approximation they didn't find any fraud. Now, Musk and Trump may disagree with the federal spending priority set by Congress, but the spending set by Congress is the law. So categorically, if spending certain funds is required by congressional appropriation, it can't be fraud. But that hasn't stopped Musk and Doge from doubling down on their wild claims. So it turns out they did find fraud. Maybe the real fraud was the fraud they made up along the way. Chaos lawyer Liz Dye explains.
Thanks, Devin. After the election, Donald Trump announced the creation of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, to dismantle government bureaucracy, slash excess regulations, cut wasteful expenditures, and restructure federal agencies. At the time, he promised that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy would provide advice and guidance from outside of the government and partner with the White House Office of Management and Budget to drive large-scale structural reform and create an entrepreneurial approach to government never seen before. But it was not meant to be. First, Ramaswamy was sent packing off to Ohio, and then within hours of being sworn in on January 20th, Trump signed an executive order renaming the Department of Digital Services the Department of Government Efficiency. Essentially, he skin-suited Doge into an existing agency like some kind of alien body snatcher. The Department of Digital Services was originally tasked with improving user experience on government websites, and that first executive order sort of pretended that there was an overlap between the missions. It said that Doge would be responsible for modernizing federal technology and software to maximize governmental efficiency and productivity. Although it did hint at what was to come by referring to a team of Doge dudes, which was to be dispatched to each government agency and given access to all non-classified databases. What followed was nothing less than a wholesale takeover of the government by Elon Musk and his Doge bros as they colonized one federal
well outside the legal authority of the president
agency after another and either shut them down or radically downsized them by firing tens of thousands of government employees. In February, the president dropped all pretense that Doge was about modernization. In a second executive order, he mandated that 4 federal workers be fired for every 1 new hire, and he gave the Doge liaison to each federal agency the power to veto all hiring decisions. Since then, the Doge bros have slashed through the government while the agency's Twitter account posts nonstop about all the woke contracts it's canceling. It is not legal for the president or his billionaire buddy to arbitrarily cancel contracts and congressionally allocated spending, but that's the subject for another video. Today, we're going to talk about math, specifically how believing everything you see on the internet makes you bad at it. On January 28th, in her first appearance at the podium, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt claimed that
I didn't realize that was the very first time she appeared as a press secretary.
Doge had discovered that the government was spending $50 million to buy condoms from Gaza.
Doge and OMB also found that there was about to be $50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money.
Musk called it the tip of the iceberg and said, "My guess is that a lot of that money ended up in the pockets of Hamas, not actually condoms." That story was utter nonsense. The entire population of Gaza before the latest war was only 2 million people. As multiple news organizations have pointed out, USAID, the government's vehicle for distributing humanitarian assistance, spent $0 on condoms in the entire Middle East in 2024, with only about $7 million for condoms worldwide. And we have to show you those articles instead of the original source material because Doge yanked down USAID's website, including the tables that showed what the
It's weird that they're pulling down the websites that we could go back and verify this from, right?
agency spent in prior years. But as Jeremy Knindick, the president of Refugees International and a former official at USAID, noted on Twitter, what's going on here is not 1 billion condoms for Gaza. What's going on is that the bros at Doge can't read government spreadsheets. He called it the kind of basic mistake you make when you fired half the workforce of the Global Health Bureau and pushed out much of the senior leadership. Pressed for evidence of the $50 million claim, State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce tweeted that the across-the-board pause in foreign assistance, quote, allowed the State Department to prevent unjustified and non-emergency spending, such as condoms, prevented $102 million in unjustified funding to a contractor in Gaza, including money for contraception. There was
So that's very, very different, first of all, than $50 million for condoms, $100 million for a fucking hospital that also perhaps maybe does contraceptive work or contraception. Like, yeah, okay.
Again, no evidence for this claim. And as Knindick pointed out, it would be entirely appropriate for the U.S. government to purchase condoms and other birth control as part of its humanitarian funding. President Trump then doubled the figure to $100 million.
Think of it, $100 million on condoms to Hamas.
Some media outlets have suggested that the Doge bros got confused between the Gaza Strip, which is home to millions of Palestinians, and Gaza Province in Mozambique. As the Washington Post points out, the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation received $83 million from the Department of Health and Human Services Department for HIV/AIDS Prevention in Gaza Province, although none of that went to buy condoms. That did not stop Fox News' Jesse Waters from insisting on air that the U.S. government was paying for condom bombs.
They make condom bombs. Hamas inflates the condoms, straps on an explosive, and floats them into Israel. It's a dual-use technology. Looks like a Hamas birthday party. So we pay for the Hamas condom bombs and Israel's Iron Dome.
None of that was remotely true. As far as we can tell, it's just completely made up. But here's Musk brushing off the criticism in the Oval Office.
That's what you say. Well, first of all, some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct it.
Again, we did not spend $50 million on condoms, and if we had, it wouldn't be appropriate or legal for some unelected billionaire to simply cancel that allocation out based on his own sense that it's a bad idea. But that was not the only incidence of Musk math leading to bizarre and often outright false claims about the federal budget.
Now, sorry to interrupt, but if you're going to accuse the government of fraud, you'll want a good lawyer. But if you want a great lawyer, my law firm, the Eagle Team, can help. If you've got in a car crash, suffered a data breach, especially got on this data breach letter saying your information might have been leaked, or dealing with a workers' comp or social security issue, we can represent you or help find you the right attorney. It's so important to talk to a lawyer right away so you can maximize your recovery. And by the way, we don't get paid unless you do, so there's nothing up front. So just click on the link in the description or call the phone number on screen for a free consultation with my team. Because you understand the Legal Team, you need the Eagle Team.
During that gonzo Oval Office press conference, Musk claimed to have found billions of dollars of Social Security fraud. The allegation that there were thousands of fake 150-year-old people collecting Social Security checks rocketed through the MAGA ecosystem. Here's the president's son, Don Jr., tweeting, OMG, it's so bad what's been happening to our country and your money. But people who actually understand code immediately spotted the error. The tip-off is that Musk thinks all those fake Social Security accounts are for people who are 150 years old, i.e. born in 1875. See, a lot of the data that Musk's whiz-kid coders have been rifling through was written in the last century. There are a lot of reasons for this, but chief among them is money, because it's expensive to modernize enormous data systems, particularly when, like Social Security, they absolutely positively cannot break down or leak. And Congress is never interested in appropriating millions of dollars to revitalize data processing systems, so it always gets pushed off to the next year, which means that the management protocols for U.S. government financial data are very old and very fragile. That's part of why people were freaking out about the Doge dudes getting into Treasury's payment processing system, because it would be very easy to break it by accident, and breaking it would be catastrophic because it would grind the entire government payment system to a halt. Anyway,
for sure, if they break the payment system, you know how many people are going to be fucking pissed?
Long before most of the Doge programmers were even born, the International Organization for Standardization tried to regularize the notation for dates. Take as an
the Attorney General of Florida announced an investigation into the Tate brothers. God, I fucking hope so.
Example, this number. Americans read that as February 10th. For more or less everyone else, it's October 2nd. Now, you guys can argue in the comments about who's right here, but for the purposes of international banking transactions, it matters that everyone is on the same page. So in 1988, we all agreed that the international standard would be an 8-digit number comprising the year, month, and day. That standard was called ISO 8601, and under it, February 10th, 2025 is rendered as 2025010 the world over. No
standardized dates.
More confusion. But for reasons you don't care about having to do with the Gregorian calendar, under ISO 8601, we all agreed to treat May 20th, 1875 as the year zero. That's the date when the Treaty of Metra was signed at the First International Convention to establish the International Bureau of Weights and Measures in Paris, and I guess that seemed like as good a date as any. But I'm sure we all see where this is going, because the government's payment processing systems at the Department of Treasury's Bureau of Fiscal Services runs on a 65-year-old computer programming language called COBOL, and COBOL utilizes the ISO 8601 standard, meaning that if there's nothing in the birth date field, it will render as the earliest date acknowledged by the system 187500520. So, if anyone of any age has a missing birthday, the system will show her as born on May 20th, 1875, and a person who doesn't know what he's looking at is going to see that as showing a Social Security recipient who's 100.
Again, because they're not auditors. They're a bunch of idiots.
150 years old, which is very funny if you're a computer programmer, but not so funny if you're watching your government be disassembled by a deranged billionaire. But Musk was not done. On February 16th, he discovered that 83% of Social Security recipients were fraudulent, tweeting, "Maybe Twilight is real and there are a lot of vampires collecting Social Security." Trump immediately parroted the claim that there were millions of fraudulent Social Security recipients.
From 200 to 209 years old, 879 people. From 210 years old, I haven't met any of them. And if I did, I would bless them. I would worship the ground they walk on.
I have no idea where.
We just got a repeat of that in his fake State of the Union.
Got that chart? He did not say, but there are roughly 71 million Social Security.
It turned into a fucking campaign rally. It wasn't. I don't know what the fuck that was.
Recipients in the United States, and roughly 60 million Americans over the age of 65, almost all of whom are Social Security eligible, which doesn't even take into account all the widows, orphans, and disabled people who collect Social Security benefits. There just are not enough people for there to be tens of millions of fraudulent recipients. That's not a thing. In another recent episode, Musk tweeted, "The Doge team just discovered that FEMA sent $59 million last week to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal migrants. Sending this money violated the law and is in gross insubordination to the president's executive order. That money is meant for American disaster relief and instead is being spent on high-end hotels for illegals." Literally none of that was true. In fact, the Federal Emergency Management Agency sent almost $81 million to the city of New York on February 6th as part of its obligation under the law to support communities hosting large numbers of asylum seekers and migrants released from federal custody. The city used $19 million to pay itself back for money already spent to house migrants in accordance with the federal grant. Those immigrants are being housed in multiple locations, including the Roosevelt Hotel, a once famous but now decidedly dilapidated building in Midtown that the city uses as a migrant shelter and central processing hub.
It was just over a year ago when the Roosevelt Hotel, became New York City's intake center for newly arriving migrants.
The city does not put migrants up in luxury hotels. In fact, is paying an average of $156 a night per room, a decidedly non-luxury rate for New York City. And contrary to what Musk said, that money was not supposed to be spent on disaster relief. It was part of a $650 million congressional allocation to FEMA's shelter and service program. In short, the money was being used exactly as Congress directed in its 2023 and 2024 budget bills. And lest we forget, budget bills are laws. The president cannot unilaterally suspend them, and neither can Elon Musk. Nevertheless, Musk tweeted that a clawback demand will be made today to recoup those funds, and Cameron Hamilton, the acting administrator of FEMA, raced to make it happen. He tweeted, "I want to thank the Doge team for making me aware of this. Effective yesterday, those payments have all been suspended from FEMA. Personnel will be held accountable. Congress should have never passed bills in 2023 and 2024 asking FEMA to do this work. This stops now." It is not normal for a public official to say, "Yes, these are laws passed by Congress instructing me to do a thing, but guess what?
These are laws passed by Congress to do it." The budget is a law, even though we treat it differently. The budget is a law passed. But we're not going to do it.
I'm not going to do it, which is why Hamilton said something different in court. See, a federal judge in Rhode Island already barred the government from cutting any grants or contracts outside the regular agency review process. And after Musk and Hamilton announced their intent to do just that, the Justice Department filed an emergency motion asking the court to allow it to cut funds to New York City. In his declaration to the court, Hamilton did not say that he was clawing back the grant money because New York was using disaster relief to put migrants up in luxury hotels. Instead, he claimed that, according to media reports, the vicious Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua has taken over the hotel and is using it as a recruiting center and base of operations to plan a variety of crimes. That claim was sourced to a New York Post article derived mainly from Spanish-language TikToks. Hamilton made no claim to have investigated those rumors. He did not refer to any violation by the city of New York, which would have invalidated the grant, and he did not tell the court that he engaged.
And listen to this judge's statement.
In the months-long process set out in federal regulations to recoup and properly use grant funds. Instead, he said he paused funding quickly in this matter to protect that funding from the potential for its misuse for the illegal.
So he lied to the American people or to this court, one of the two, right? Either he lied to the American people or he lied to this court. Protect the funding for potential misuse, illegal activity described above. Sure.
Activity described, but the judge refused to sign the government's permission slip.
Listen to this judge's quote. I'll slow it down to normal speed.
He said basically, if what you're doing is legal, then you don't need my permission, and if it's not legal, I can't give it to you.
If what you're doing was legal, you wouldn't need my permission. And if it's illegal, I can't give you permission.
And of course, it wasn't legal. Federal regulations require an audit, 60 days notice, an appeal mechanism, and allowing the grant recipient to make repayment arrangements. Here, the government just reversed an $80 million payment, most of which had nothing to do with the Roosevelt Hotel, and stole the money. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem fired the civil servants who put the transaction through, as they were required to do by law, calling them FEMA deep state activists, and promised that there will not be a single penny spent that goes against the interest and safety of the American people. But again, the American people spoke when they elected their representatives to Congress, which sets the budget. That's how our constitutional system goes. And the fact that Elon Musk believes crazy things, either because he sees them on the internet or because the Doge Jews don't know what they're looking at, does not change the law. Elon Musk and his Doge bros put out so many fake stories it can be hard to keep track of them all. He and his millions of followers spent several news cycles discovering that media outlets were secretly funded by agencies like USAID. I think the theory here is that federal agencies which make policy decisions and have to liaise with Congress should not pay for subscriptions to the New York Times and the Washington Post and Politico Pro, which are essential reading for everyone in D.C. I guess the less information, the better. On February 12th, Reuters published a story entitled Musk's Doge Cuts based more on political ideology than real cost savings so far. The story noted correctly that Musk was going after programs that conservatives dislike, such as public television and programs that support diversity. But those represent a minuscule fraction of the federal budget and will not get close to the $2 trillion in spending cuts Musk has promised to find. After Director Ron Howard posted the Reuters piece, Musk replied, I wonder how much money Reuters is getting from the government. Let's find out. A crypto bro named Mario Nawfal raced to produce the desired data, which wasn't difficult since you and I and everyone else can go to usaspending.gov and plug in any recipient we like. Nawfal pointed to a contract from 2018, when Trump was still president, for, quote, active social engineering defense and large-scale social deception. He said, Doge investigations reveal mysterious Defense Department payments to Reuters for large-scale social deception project between 2018 and 2022. While DARPA claims it was for cyber defense, questions swirl about why a news agency received millions for social engineering.
Again, different wing, different people.
In fact, questions did not swirl, or at least not until Nawfal started swirling them. Because you too can click through and see the November 2017 proposal soliciting innovative research proposals in the area of automated defense against social engineering attacks, which Nawfal must have done himself since he knew that the proposal originated from DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. But that did not matter to Musk, who immediately tweeted, Reuters was paid millions of dollars by the U.S. government for large-scale social deception. That is literally what it says on the purchase order. They're a total scam. And it didn't matter to the president either. The reality is that Thomson Reuters is a huge company with a news division that is totally separate from its research division, and Doge didn't discover this contract. It was on a public website, and some internet rando tweeted it at Musk along with a totally misleading suggestion.
Yeah, they definitely didn't discover it. Anybody could have looked it up.
Which Musk and Trump were both delighted to treat as fact. Anyway, thanks to this hard-hitting investigation, the Securities and Exchange Commission has now canceled its subscription to Westlaw, the legal research database relied on by...
I don't think they found anything, but they did cancel a subscription to Westlaw. Westlaw. So nobody in the government now, unless you want to pay out of your own pocket, has a subscription to Westlaw, the legal research service and database for our lawyers and the legal professionals, prosecutors. You have to pay out of your own pocket now, I guess.
By every lawyer in America because it happens to be owned by Reuters. In reality, though, the Reuters article that made Musk mad in the first place was dead right. The things that Doge is cutting are a minuscule fraction of the federal budget. In that Oval Office press conference on February 11th, Trump crowed that Doge had found tens of billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse to cut, mostly by perusing usaspending.gov, apparently. But the Washington Post ran the numbers. And even if you take Doge at its word, their math does not add up, because $1 trillion is a really big number. And if you're promising $500 billion worth of savings from cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, a few $1 million here or there will not cut it. For instance, Doge says pennies cost more than 3 cents to mint, so the government can save $179 million a year by eliminating the penny, which might be true, although I'd note that getting rid of pennies means we're going to need a lot more nickels, which cost 14 cents a piece to make. And like Reuters said, most of the Doge cuts so far have been to projects to promote diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, which might add up to a few $1 billion across the entire federal government, but is relatively speaking a drop in the bucket. Even the purported $881 million in cuts to the Department of Education do not get anywhere near that $500 billion Trump promised. You can eke out $1 million by getting rid of the non-binary gender marker X on all government documents, and you can axe an exhibit on Dr. Anthony Fauci at the Museum of National Institutes of Health and save $168,000. That's more of a middle finger to people you don't like than actual budget policy. The The Washington Post tallied the Doge cuts through February 12th and came up with a total of $6 billion, of which judges have already blocked $4 billion in cuts to medical and scientific research. That is not $500 billion. It is not even tens of billions of dollars, as Musk and Trump.
An egg gang.
Even if Trump and Musk get their way.
So there's nowhere near what they're promising. Again, if I wanted to shut up everybody, on both sides that had an issue with me, I would show actual fraud in an amount so large that everybody be like, oh my God, for real? You would lead with that. Instead, we get lies. We get retweeting of old Festivus report things. We get contracts that have already been paid out, closed, and are over with. We get half-assed statements about, oh, there's a 300-year-olds not collecting Social Security, but we're still going to put them in the system, right? We get the dumbest fucking shit. You could shut everybody up. Have no detractors. That people that just don't hate you for being you, right? If you just showed it. Why are we not showing it? If I ran that account, everything that come out of that account would be so goddamn verified that there's no way we made a mistake like 8 million, or counted the same contract 4 and 5 times to add up. Or was just retweeting some other guy and thought that and didn't understand what the contract was actually for. No way would I give fuel to the fire that people could call me an idiot for the fucking shit I was tweeting out. But all they have is lies. So all they need is the momentum going their way. Retweets, likes, people saying, I can't believe they were funding transgender pygmies in the Amazon or whatever.
And fire vast swaths of the federal workforce, it's not going to get them where they say they want to go. Because, as the Brookings Institution points out, 60% of the federal workforce is at the Department of Defense, Veterans Affairs, and the Department of Homeland Security. Trump promised not to cut any staff at those departments, although he's already fired 1,000 people at the VA, so who knows? They also fired and then had to rehire more than 300 workers who managed the national nuclear stockpile. Oops. But if you leave aside those 3 agencies, the payroll for the entire rest of the federal government is just $108 billion. So you could cut.
So if you take out all those agencies they claim not to cut, you're left with a pretty small workforce and payroll.
1 in 3 federal workers, and it would still only save you $35 billion. A recent investigation by the New York Times of a purported $8 billion contract canceled by Doge revealed that the real number was just $8 million. The Times notes that after the article was published, Doge removed the screenshot that showed the mismatch, but continued to claim $8 billion in savings. It added a link to the original incorrect version.
In their own screenshots, I can't overstate this enough. In their own screenshot, at the top, it said $8 billion. And then just like 3 lines down, it said 8 million. Nobody caught it. And they're auditing the federal government line by line.
Of the listing showing an $8 billion value. It later updated the link to reflect the correct number, but failed to subtract the $7,992 million from the supposed $55 billion tally of the cuts it claims to have made so far. And by the by, the Times says that they didn't find this error by going through the whole list. They just picked the biggest number and investigated that one first. But the Doge defenders have a good answer for that, and it's, what are you trying to hide? You must be mad because we found all this corruption.
When they want to audit USAID, who is spending $100 million to send condoms to Gaza, let alone running shrimp on treadmill and all the other ridiculous things. The Democrats go crazy. Let them do this, Sean.
Reasonable people can argue about small government versus big government.
It fucking really bothers me. We learn so much from like crazy like research projects, and I like reading research papers. It pisses me off even more when they mischaracterize what research is. Like when the one we went over where they're like, oh, they're giving steroids to hamsters and starting a hamster fight club. And really they're studying like the effects of steroid on the brain in adolescence and how to combat that because we have young people using steroids at a pretty alarming rate. Like when they mischaracterize research studies to make them sound fucking ridiculous, but honestly it's like trying to save people's lives. It is just wild to me.
The appropriate use of tax dollars.
That's why I don't like the fucking Festivus report or whatever the fuck it is.
It's not the issue here. Leave aside the dubious legality of almost everything Doge has done, violating everything from civil service protections to the Appropriations Clause to the Impoundment Control Act. That's going to be for judges to sort out. The issue is that none of the numbers these guys are throwing around will get you anywhere near $500 billion or $2 trillion or whatever made-up figure they throw out tomorrow. That math just ain't mathin'. Although, if your goal is to hollow out the federal government and make sure that it can never deliver services that Americans have come to rely on, this plan ought to do it.
Thanks, Liz. Now, just because they weren't able to find fraud in the government doesn't mean that you can't save money at home. And I speak from personal experience because I recently found hundreds of dollars of monthly.
So there you go. It's pretty interesting that they can't lead with actual stuff that is like solid proof. They can't even share any solid proof. It's all been bullshit from the get-go. And it'll probably continue to be bullshit. And that's why nobody's getting a fucking check. That's why this is all a distraction while we pass giant fucking tax cuts to the wealthy, and we get our followers along with laying off fucking or firing disabled veterans and park rangers and shit, right? All in the name of this crazy waste, fraud, and abuse. Somebody commented on my TikTok video and is like, the Democrats were funding themselves. To me, that's waste, fraud, and abuse. Because I said it's not waste, fraud, and abuse if it's just a program you don't like. The Democrats were funding themselves. To me, that's waste, fraud, and abuse. And I was like, so you would be concerned if the person who's auditing the government was trying to put pressure on the FAA to drop a contract with Verizon by lying about them, right? By lying about their service and trying to get it for themselves in Starlink. You'd be upset about that, like what Elon Musk is doing right fucking now. Their response was, well, I think the media is trying to pit us against each other. What? You just said your claim is that this side of our government is looping money back around to themselves. When I show you an example of the guy you're talking about looping money back around to himself, you blame the media now? The fuck out of here. They're not equipped for these conversations. There's a big MAGA reset button that when you hit it, they just go to another random topic they're mad about. Like you're like, oh, well, Trump actually did this. Well, loop back around. You remember the lockdowns? The 3 weeks to save the world? What happened? They reboot into a different conspiracy theory. And once you get them out of that one, they reboot to another one. All right, guys, I'm out for the night. Thank you all for joining us. That was the state of the rally with Donald Trump, I guess. I appreciate it. If you want to support the show, you guys know how to. Thank you for the donations and subscribers tonight. I'll be back tomorrow. We're doing some Patreon this week. Tomorrow probably won't be it because Mariah's got to go to her great-grandpa's funeral, and I'll be with the kids. I don't think they're going, and we got ball practice and stuff, so it won't be tomorrow, but I'll be back. I'll just do a regular show tomorrow probably. Thank you guys for joining us. If you want the stream to keep going, consider supporting it at coldbeer.fund, and we'll see you about the next one. Have a good night. Love you. See you. Bye.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the fork and balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the fork and balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6 cents for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like four in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen.
Have a good night, guys.
I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Opened his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped it to my shoes and then I flew through the roof.